One. Welcome to South Charlotte Sports Report Live. We are very excited today to have a very special guest from the North Carolina I may say this wrong, Park and Recreation Association or Recreation Park Association. I got my letters confused.
Park.
But Michelle Wells, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Joe. How are you today?
Good. Kind of joining you for two or three reasons. Obviously, everything that's dictating everything in life right now, the coronavirus and how that affects parks and different parks throughout the state. We want to talk about that. And then as we get towards the end, I also want to talk about what families can be doing this summer and let you highlight some really neat places they can go to. How does that sound?
That sounds great. Thanks for the opportunity to be with you here today.
Well, start right away. Here in Mecklenburg County, we've it's kind of been a little bit of a battle here recently as far as obviously people are anxious. They're ready to go. They're ready to play. I'm just going to refer to baseball and softball, even though there's many other sports are going in parks, just to keep it simple. Ready to play ball. They're starting to see baseball and stuff played throughout our county, but our Mecklenburg County Parks and Rec elected to not open up for organized activity, which led to a lot of league and associations having to, just in the last couple of days, close down, give up hope, and have to start making refunds and things like that. But you got thrown kind of into the middle of it, or your association, as the Mecklenburg Parks and County used you guys as saying that y'all recommended to not have organized sports at parks right now. So I guess I just wanted to talk about that recommendation and help our people understand that.
Absolutely. So first of all, let me clarify. I do not work for Mecklenburg County Parks and Rec.
No, you're
correct?
North Carolina.
Yes, I work for the North Carolina Recreation and Park Association. We are a nonprofit organization, and our goal is to support the parks and recreation profession through education of those who are working in park and recreation departments, also supporting those that are in our colleges and universities that are future professionals joining the field, and also being advocates for the parks and recreation profession in our state, not only with citizens, but with elected officials, as we go around. But we really focus on education is primarily what we do with trainings around various topics and things like that. So I am not an expert on the Mecklenburg County situation, but it's my understanding that they've not canceled youth sports for the summer. They're on a delayed start, and they are not taking reservations for specific fields at this point for some of the youth athletic leagues in the area there, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, what they've said, have at it, unorganized activity, essentially whatever you want to do in the parks. But there's a lot of leagues that maintain park facilities, build beautiful baseball fields and stuff like that they can't resume their season. And I think, most of them that use parks like that, Mecklenburg County Parks, have essentially said, well, you're not telling us anything. We don't know when we can begin. Our people are ready to, they finally, Myers Park Trinity Little League, which is, I believe, the oldest little league in Charlotte, last night finally gave up because no one was really communicating with them or giving them any hope or anything like that. So yeah, by the time you get to July, the fall season will start a month later. So I think they gave up. There was nothing left, no hope to hold out for. But just talk about, was that a recommendation y'all made to parks to not have organized activity?
So we are not a regulatory or governing body over any of our park and recreation departments in the state. We're there offering the opportunity for them to connect with their peers, to learn what other departments are doing. As I'm sure you're aware, I think the largest confusion that everybody is having a tough time coalescing around is the 25 mass gathering for outdoors, right? And so everybody can interpret that
1,000 different ways.
More than 1,000, I think, right? Is it per complex, per field, per sideline, per
team, so per whatever.
Right.
If you're standing 6 feet apart, is it a gathering? Exactly. Who knows?
Yes. And so in my role at NCRPA, I have really kind of served as a conduit between our profession and the questions they have with DHHS here for the state, and been able to get some input for our folks. They are strongly encouraging that folks locally work with their local health department, kind of with what's going on and what's the situation, because as we know, North Carolina is a big state, and we are varied, not only in geographic location, but in population, and it also comes down to resources as well, right? In some places where a local park may be, we would love to open up, say, the swimming pool, but we're on a hiring freeze, or we haven't been able to hire staff. So even though we've gotten permission to open swimming pools at a limited capacity, people weren't necessarily able to flip the switch on that Saturday morning after they made the announcement on Friday to say, hey, everybody come to the park, right? Because we want to make sure we're offering safe environments with trained staff and getting those going. So a lot of folks are working on that. And so I think that applies to other things as well. And I was able to go back and watch your interview with Lee, and also with the health department director there. And it sounds like they're having those conversations that it's recommended to say, hey, how can we do this? And realizing, and I think it's, the thing to realize is it's not just a Mecklenburg County situation. It's happening other communities in our state.
Oh yeah,
And across the nation as well, right?
There's no doubt. I mean, I see some friends in different places that are back playing. I see some that are in the same situation as Mecklenburg County, but being in Mecklenburg County, that's obviously the focus. Then I got incredibly great news today that I have a big background in Greenville through East Carolina, that their Parks and Recreation Department, which is an amazing Park and Recreation Department, they are returning their little leagues back to the field to begin play June 15th. They're practicing now. So I think probably it's just so difficult as a consumer or as a family of, maybe you have a child that plays or whatever. Boy, my son's playing here, but my cousin's not, or vice versa. And, boy, then it goes to the what's safe, what's not unsafe. And then, I think the communication across the state has been difficult simply from, I have a son that plays high school travel type baseball, and we go one place and the rules are one thing, and we're going somewhere this weekend and 0 spectators are allowed into the stadium, which is mind blowing at this point. But, I think that's probably part of the confusion and the tough part. And just, I understand where you're coming from. And,
and I think if you look at our friends over at DHHS, right? So I know how many questions I've asked them just from a park and rec perspective, right? I want to know about day camps. I want to know about indoor programs. I want to know about swimming pools. I want to know about outdoor athletics. I want to know about playgrounds. And that's just 5 right off of the top of my head that I'm asking. So multiply my industry times hundreds or thousands with the questions they're getting. So I know it's a cumbersome job, and they're trying to take the information and resources that are coming out of governing bodies and CDC and other places and trying to decide, how do these parts and pieces fit together to keep citizens in North Carolina safe, right? And realizing just what you said, there's things that work here that may not work there. And it may have to do with, I was talking to a park director yesterday that because they have an old school layout of their softball fields, they're not in a diamond wagon wheel complex type thing. They were able to do some unique things that other people would not be able to do. So some of it is so situational with the facilities and resources that they have. But I think everybody, what I'm hearing from our profession, so we have really focused kind of everything we've done under what we're calling a Stay Connected theme for the last, 10 weeks now, right, since mid-March. And so we've brought together our park directors, we've brought together our athletic staff, people who work in community centers, people who work in aquatics, people who work with seniors, our therapeutic recreation specialists. And so how are they all to help them stay connected, to be able to share resources? I saw this here, we're implementing this. This is how we're hoping we're going to be able to do, and they're all sharing. And that's what I love about the Parks and Rec profession, is there are no what I'll call corporate secrets in our profession, and they are so willing to share. And that we had a director's call this morning, and so the couple of the folks that had hosted tournaments last weekend shared and said, hey, this is what worked, this is how we set up some things, these are what you can do. So they're, trust me when I say they are working on it, with trying to figure out how to open the facilities within guidelines, working with their health departments, and being safe at the same time, because you want to make sure that the public feels safe coming back and sending their child or participating themselves as an adult, right? Right.
Let's talk about something we can all agree on.
All right.
Getting outside. That's got to be a positive, right?
It is, yes.
Tell me some, if you were in Charlotte and somebody, you can be anywhere, someone from Charlotte asked you, where are some really neat places that I may not know about that I could take my family to for a day trip that are within a couple hours.
Absolutely. So there are tons of parks in the area, like a 2 or 3 hour radius of Charlotte, right? Just in Mecklenburg County alone, through the Mecklenburg County Park System, there are over 200 parks and over 50 miles of greenways that are available. And I don't think that number includes the communities that are part of Mecklenburg County
That
as
have their
well,
own rec
right?
department. Right. Exactly.
Exactly, right? But there's a lot of connectivity and things going on, especially with the Carolina Thread Trail. So thinking about what's available now with where we are, and we want people to be safe. So there's some great places that have indoor facilities and museums and nature preserves and things to visit. But I did come up with a few that are some of my favorites in the area. And some of these I found because several years ago I had that milestone of 50 birthdays. And so I decided to do 50 park
Oh,
visits, places, to parks I had never visited
yeah.
before, what I called new to me parks. And in my life and my role, I have been to a lot of parks. So it was a challenge to find some that I had not been to. But one of those was Goat Island over in Cramerton.
Yep.
You cross bridges to get in,
Yeah.
and the park itself is actually out on an island. It connects to the Carolina Thread Trail for opportunities there with open space. I think there's some kayak or canoe launch access, picnic space. They do have a great playground and outdoor fitness facility, but those things are kind of off limits right now. I have had the opportunity to go to Big Leaf Slopes in Iredell County.
That's a new one for me.
There you go. That's a new one. So that one's a lot of fun. It's outdoor. The only amenity there, I think, is a place to change your clothes if you're mountain biking, and maybe a restroom and a parking lot. But it's a nice nature outdoor trail. Plenty of opportunities to have that social distancing between people as you're out there walking. And one of my favorites, I actually did my internship in Cabarrus County many, many years ago, is Frank List Park over in
Yeah.
Cabarrus County. Right? Plenty of open green space out there. And I would just say that the challenge now is because there are so many people who are visiting parks that may not have been parks visitors before. The challenge is finding one that's not crowded,
Right.
right? So like I know Crowder's Mountain has had, where they've had to limit the number of people coming in, and it was a popular place even before people said, hey, we need somewhere
Yeah.
to
My
get
son has
out.
hiked that 3 or 4 times over this break. Let me tell
Yes.
you one that
All right.
tell everybody that's listening. One of my favorites, because I grew up at this park, Dan Nicholas Park in
Oh
Salisbury.
yeah. Right.
Wonderful place.
Absolutely.
Water, petting zoo, train ride, mini
Yep.
golf, tons of green space. Dan Nicholas Park in Salisbury, only 1 hour away, is a really neat one. And, because of my talk with Michelle, I'm probably going to continue throughout the summer of recommending places like that. I just have to, being a North Carolina native, I've been to a lot of them, but you threw a couple new ones on me there.
Absolutely. Well, if any of your listeners, so what I did was I did a blog post every week for those 50 parks that I visited.
Ah,
They can go to our website. It's ncrpa.net. And if they'll search 50 at 50, that was kind of my
yeah.
hashtag I used, they can find the 50 parks that I visited all across North Carolina, and couple across our borders that I got a chance to visit as well. So lots of great options there. And I would just encourage people to get out and explore. There are so many great parks tucked away. Just check with that local municipality or county and do a search on parks in your area and look for those little hidden gems that you may not know about. And hopefully other people don't know about either, and they'll be a little less crowded these days.
I agree. And the one thing I want to say this to all the moms and dads that are watching: plan some activities. You've got the time right now. Many of you do anyway.
Mhm.
Give your children something to look forward to. We've got to change the daily monotonous routine that all the children are going through right now, not just for their mental health, but for our mental health as adults as well. It's a challenging time. And it's been a great time having you here, Michelle. You've told us a couple new places, and we'll get this posted up later today. But I do appreciate you coming on today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And if we can help connect you with other parks professionals to learn about parks in the area, feel free to let me know. I'm happy to help you out.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for joining us. Everyone else, I hope you have a great night. Take care.